like to call the September meeting of the Haywood County Board of Education to order. This time I'd like to ask everyone to please rise for invocation, immediately followed by our Pledge of Allegiance. Mr. Rogers is not here, so I want to lead us in our invocation this evening. Let us pray. Our most gracious Heavenly Father, we thank you for this opportunity to come to serve the citizens of Haywood County, our students, our faculty, administrators. Lord, we ask that you guide us and direct us in how you would have your decisions this evening made. Lord, we ask that you give us strength, guide us and direct us in what you would have us to do. These things we ask in your holy name. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You may be seated. As we announced last board meeting, at this time we are opening a public hearing to allow for public input on proposed policy 9125. It's participation by minority businesses. This policy deals with the board's commitment to fair practices in advertising and accepting bids for construction projects. From time to time, the Haywood County schools require renovation or new construction projects to maintain our facilities. Policy 9125, participation by minority businesses, establishes goals for the school system to reach when choosing companies to complete these construction projects. At this time, is there any discussion on policy 9125? Ms. King, has anyone signed up to address the board? Okay. Any other comments? That's a quick public hearing. At this time, the public hearing portion of tonight's proceedings is complete. At this time, we return to the open session of tonight's board meeting. And that satisfies the requirement of our public hearing. Under announcements, our next regular board meeting will be October 12th here at the Education Center at 7 o'clock. Don't forget this Wednesday at 12 noon, we have our Teacher of the Year luncheon. Please let administration know if you plan on attending, if you haven't already. It's this Wednesday, September 16th at 12 noon at Laurel Ridge Country Club. Board members also let Ms. King know if you plan on attending the District 8 Fall meeting, North Carolina School Board Association District 8 meeting October 1st from 4 to 8 p.m. at Brevard Middle School. Also, you probably have a little bit of time left maybe to get in on the fall school law conference over at the Renaissance Hotel in Asheville. That's put on the North Carolina School Board Association also. Please let Ms. King know if you plan on attending that so she can register you. Are there any other announcements that people would like to make?
I'd like to make one.
Okay.
Dr. Nolte came to bingo again. He won this year.
I did not.
You did? You said bingo.
I said bingo, but I had a person on the right.
Oh, he lied. I'm sorry. Let me retract my announcement.
Thank you for noticing. What's that, a W-9 thing we're supposed to give? W-2 or W-9 or something? Gambling.
Okay. Well, I knew you said bingo.
I just would like to piggyback on what you said, that that was a very enjoyable night. I thank you for the Haywood County Schools Foundation for doing that, and that was really fun. Yes.
I'd like to say a couple of things. First of all, Mr. Rogers is not here this evening. He wasn't feeling well after our closed session. He asked if he could go on home, and I told him to please go on home and just remember Mr. Rogers and your thoughts and prayers as he continues his battle with cancer, and we are praying for his full recovery. I would also like to thank everyone for their thoughts and prayers at the loss of my daughter-in-law this past couple of weeks. Has been tough, but I do appreciate the cards, texts, emails, flowers, donations, you name it. Prayers, thoughts, everything has been outstanding. I sure appreciate it so very much. Thank you. Under agenda adjustments tonight. We do have to add a couple items from Building and Grounds is asked to be on the agenda, and without objection, let's add them right after the policies, between the policies and the Finance Committee reports. We'll put Building and Grounds right before 15. If I forget, which I do often, please remind me. You won't hurt my feelings. Are there any other agenda adjustments we need to make? Okay. Now it gives me a lot of pleasure to recognize Mr. Tracy Hargrove. I can't talk. Mr. Tracy Hargrove, please.
I believe that everyone in this room remembers the floods of 2004 and the devastation that was caused across this county. And everyone knows how much Haywood County loves our sports. And I believe everyone also knows that down at Pisgah, the football stadium, which was also serving as a baseball field, took a lot of damage. And for a couple of years, the Pisgah baseball team had to go over to Beaver Dam and play. And then in 2006, 2007, by some work of some school board members and administration from Haywood County Schools, and through the help of the Wells Freeman family, we were able to construct a baseball field on some property that is very close to Pisgah High School now. And ever since that time up until right now, the Pisgah baseball team has, when they have home games, what has happened is the varsity would play at 4 o'clock and the JV team would get whatever daylight was left over. And as a parent of one of those players from a few years ago, I know that several times those JV boys would only get 1 or 2 innings in, and then it would be dark, and that was the end of the game. And so Haywood County has been very fortunate for many years to have a dealership in Canton, North Carolina, called Ken Wilson Ford. And Mr. Ken Wilson has done a tremendous deed to Haywood County Schools this year by donating financially for the lighting that is now up at the Pisgah baseball field. And I'll tell you this, from a maintenance standpoint, we don't have the money to do that type of thing right now. The money that we use is used for have-to projects, and it was his generosity that has led to lights being on that field right now. And not only that, not only did he provide financially for it, he even did all the work to set up the contractor. I didn't even have to do anything but show up over there and open the gate, and they flew in there and put those lights up. And so tonight I would like to take just a minute to recognize Mr. Ken Wilson for his contribution to Haywood County Schools.
Haywood County Schools Board of Education Certificate of Appreciation is hereby granted to Ken Wilson. In appreciation for your generous donation to the Pisgah High School baseball field, your generosity will benefit employees, parents, students, and athletes of Haywood County Schools for years to come. Thank you very much.
Well, you know, Haywood County has been really good to us, and so we enjoy doing this project, and I was just telling him if he'll figure out another one, we'll try to do another next year. So, thank y'all. He said the list is big, so. But thanks, no, seriously, we'll try to do another project somewhere next year.
Thank you.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
Next on our agenda is Dr. Nolte.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Dr. Garrett, staff, and guests. We have a large media guest presence this evening. It is my pleasure to bring to you the most of the annual academic performance results for 2014-15. Those were released after the state school board meeting in September. There will be some additional information that is released by them regarding individual student and individual teacher growth, and so we'll use that information a little bit later, but we have probably 90% of the released information. We just have a couple big areas left. I want to caution you about the information, not just as a board, but also the media, about the information we're providing to you. We do, as you all well know, comprehensive rankings of the first highest ranked school in a particular category all the way down to the last ranked school or the last ranked district. And so as you access this information on Moodle or media in particular, I know you have access to these files, please assure that we're not trying to make anyone below our rankings look bad, but we're just trying to make sure that everyone sees the full brevity of how we did in various categories. So there's a lot of information here, and we are focusing on where we are and what we need to do to get even better. So just that word of caution for everyone. If you could click on the first file, Ms. King. The first file has already been in the media. We sent this to our local media outlets, and most of them have used this particular information. This is just our performance composite in the middle column. It's your first file. On the right side, it shows academic growth, which is the percentage of schools and individually our schools that move students a year or more. When we get the additional growth data that will be released after the October State School Board meeting, we will ask the schools on that list, and we only had 4 that did not meet growth, to produce a growth plan for us. And this is not new. We've done this for years. I had the privilege of doing that myself as a principal many, many years ago. To analyze their data, come to the curriculum and instruction staff, explain to us what the data says about their growth and what their plan is to correct it. Overall, we're in good shape. Our schools exceeded the growth of other schools in the state. The highest growth was Clyde Elementary with a growth number of over 5, and anything over 2 is really good. So that was pretty phenomenal. I've not seen a number that high here since Meadowbrook about 6 or 8 years ago had a 4 point something. So that's growth, and just know we'll do some planning with our schools, and they'll come back and give us a plan on how to increase growth. I don't know if I should wait, Mr. Francis, to the end for questions or just see if there are questions with each file. What's your pleasure?
If anyone has a question during the presentation, just address it now. I would be the way I would think so.
Any questions about growth? All right, great. Ms. King, if you could look at the next file. The next file is something you have seen the 2 previous years. We will attach this one to the Moodle for your use. Those of you who've been on the board have seen this gap analysis before. Across the very top row is every assessment that our schools are measured by the state, all the primary assessments, and those range from ACT, work keys, math rigor, the 4-year graduation rate, the performance composite of kids who are on track to enter college, Math 1, Biology, English 2, all the maths, all the readings, and the sciences. We create this gap analysis, and again, we've done this for a few years, to show visually as a starting point when we're working on academic performance where we need to start. And we, as you know, go out to each school each semester and have a pretty long, about an hour and a half, sometimes a little shorter, sometimes a little longer, conversation with school improvement teams about their data, what it means, and how they're going to improve performance. You can see among our elementary schools, out of all those assessments, there are only 4 gap areas, which is amazing. We've had 7 or 10 or more in the past, and we're still going to work on those. At the middle school level, you can see there are no gaps, and in every subject that is assessed, we were above the state numbers. And at the high school level, there's still some, of course, Central Haywood would have gaps because those are students who are recovered dropouts or who have struggled. But if you look at the other 3 schools, there are very few gaps and fewer than the 2 previous years. Each year we've had fewer gaps. So that's just big picture, okay? Any questions about that? I'm going to detail a lot of that data for you here as we go forward. So that's a big picture. Okay, Ms. King, if we can get back to the Moodle. All right. Let's start with high school performance. We get a couple very large spreadsheets from the state of North Carolina that are literally hundreds of pages long and a dozen or more pages wide that have every school in the state on it and everything on it from individual scores in each subject, and letter grades and everything else. And what we try to do is sort by like schools in the state. So this first sort is every 9 through 12 school in the state with a vocational performance score. That typically means it's a comprehensive high school like ours. It's not a special science school. It's not an early college. It's not a specialized school. It's a school that looks like ours. And then we sorted to eliminate 9 through 13 schools, which are early colleges, and alternative high schools. When you do that sort, you end up with 346 comprehensive 9 through 12 high schools in North Carolina. And again, just be, you know, I think it's fine to point out that Marvin Ridge was number 1. That's one heck of a school, but I want to be careful about the schools below us because it's not our intent to put them down, but just to show where we rank. So if you could just page down slowly, Ms. King, until you see some colored cells. Okay, on page 2, maybe page 3. Okay, stop right there. This is Pisgah High School and Tuscola High School. They're 0.3 of a point apart, so very close in their academic performance. Out of the 346 comprehensive high schools in the state, Tuscola High School was in the top 30%, outperforming 70% of the like high schools in the state based upon their academic test that they're measured. And Pisgah was in the top 29%, that 0.3 of a point. So that tells us that our 2 comprehensive high schools outperformed 70% of the other comprehensive high schools in the state of North Carolina. And just for effect, I'm going to ask Ms. King to put the arrow on the cursor and scroll through there so you can see the number of schools. You can probably just hold that cursor down. You can see the number of schools that our 2 comprehensive high schools outperformed. So, can our 2 comprehensive high schools be better? Absolutely. Are we happy with their performance? I'd say that we're pleased but not satisfied. And again, I would go ahead and close that file, please. I'd caution you about, pointing out to people who's, number 100 and who's number 300, but we're very proud of that performance, and we'll be working with the gap analysis and other data to help Pisgah and Tuscola continue to climb in their academic performance. Any questions about that file? Okay, let's open the next one. This is easier to sort. in North Carolina, there are a few specialized middle schools, but very, very few. So what we did was we just took that huge database of spreadsheets and we simply sorted by schools that had grades 6, 7, and 8. If they had 5 through 8, they weren't in here. If they were 6 through 12, they weren't. That gave us 417 6 through 8 schools in North Carolina across the state. So, Ms. King, if you would scroll down until you see some highlighted sales. Okay, stop right there. That's Bethel Middle School. They're in the top 15%. That means that they outperformed 85% of the other middle schools in the state of North Carolina. And if you'd scroll down and find us some more highlighted sales, on the very next page we have Canton Middle and Waynesville Middle, who outperformed 22% and 25% of the other middle schools in the state. So by all accounts, all of our middle schools outperformed 75% or better of the other middle schools in the state. And again, just so we can appreciate how good that is, if you could scroll through the rest of that sheet for us. Oh, stop just for a second. Don't look at the name. There were a couple 6-8 charters, and we're in a market now where we're competing for those students, so I wanted to point those schools out. There were no 9-12 comprehensive charters, and so I've highlighted charters that fit in this category as well as elementary. So if you'd scroll on down.
There's the other charter school.
Okay, thank you. You can close that file. And again, can our middle schools be better? Absolutely. But there are a lot of school districts that would like to have all of their middle schools in the top 25%, outperforming those other schools. Next file. Any questions about the 6-8? Next file is a sort of K-5, kindergarten through 5th grade, or pre-kindergarten through 5th grade, Title I schools in North Carolina. That's the largest block of elementary schools. There are some K-3 schools and some K-6 schools and some K-5s that have a good bit of money that are not Title I. But this is the list, 857 schools that are either kindergarten through 5th grade or pre-kindergarten through 5th grade. And again, I've highlighted our schools in yellow and the charters in that light brown, burnt orange color. Not good with color names. There were 10 charters, and again, I don't want to highlight any names, but I want to show you the list. River Bend was first out of 857 schools in that list. If you go a little further down the list, Bethel Elementary was in the top 2%. Junaluska was in the top 3%. You scroll to the next page, please. Then with Clyde Elementary in the top 7%, outperforming 93% of the other of the 857 schools. Keep scrolling. Oops. North Canton in the top 11%, outperforming 89% of the other 857 K-5 schools. And then we have a group here together, a couple at 12%, Jonathan Valley and Hazelwood. And then if you'll continue to scroll, Meadowbrook in the top, I don't have my glasses on.
15.
15, thank you. In the top 15%. And
25.
Central Elementary in the top 25%. So there are a lot of school districts that would like to say that they have 9 elementary schools, and all of them range between the top 25% and first out of 857. Now, if you'll scroll, again, not interested in showing school names, but if you'll scroll just to understand the capacity of what our elementary schools have done. There are a few colored cells that I'll ask you to stop, a red one. Okay, stop there. And again, we want to be very cautious of school names. This begins the bottom 20%, and I wanted to show you this because of the charters that you'll see from here down. Charter, charter, charter. This begins the bottom 10% of the 857. Charter, 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 charter. Okay, and again, we did not create this competitive nature, but since it's there, we want to share the data. Any questions about the K-5 sort? We're very, very proud, obviously, of all of those schools. We didn't put the early college up here, but it is an A school, and you'll see in a moment how difficult that is to achieve. Most A's are early colleges, but that's a difficult thing. And Central Haywood takes some of our most challenged students who've gotten behind because of attendance or whatever reason and graduates a good number of them. If you'll open the LEA sort. This is the 115 LEAs in the state, and I just put a numerical rank by the top 20 because those are the people who we talk to when we're working on biology or math 1 or 4th grade reading or whatever we're working on. We find schools in those districts and we go visit those people and talk to them. I highlighted so you can get a visual the yellow districts. That's mainly for internal use, so we can sort of look at our region of the state. And the green are districts with over 50% free and reduced lunch. And I want to argue that if your free and reduced lunch rate is over 50% and you're in the top 20 out of 115, you're really getting after it. Okay. Again, the first district, no argument at all about Chapel Hill Carbarrel being very, very good, but their poverty rate is just a little over 30%, over 20 points lower than all those green districts. So we're 15th. We had hoped that we would move to 14th or lower. We about 10 years ago we were 40th, and we've moved up through the ranks. 3 years ago we were 17th. Last year and this year we were 15th, and this is just pure academic performance based upon all the tests being put together. So we feel real good about that, we strive to move up those rankings, and I believe that we will because of the analysis that we do and the commitment of our staff and students and community. So if you just scroll through that again, I don't have any other markers other than districts in our region. And again, especially media, because you have a broad audience, please don't say they outperformed so-and-so. We don't really want to talk about the other districts. It's just a reference point for us. All right. Any questions about LEA rank? One of the biggest indicators of your vocational performance is in the Work Keys assessment. The Work Keys assessment, if you'll open that one, Ms. King. The Work Keys assessment is a test that is given to seniors who finish a 4-course concentration area in vocational education, or what we now call career technical education, CTE. So of the 115 districts, our Work Keys ranked 16th, and we're pretty pleased with that. We believe that can be higher, but that's, again, there are 99 districts that would like to have that Work Keys number. Next file. And then the ACT, you all remember probably from discussions we've had in board meetings and work sessions that North Carolina 3 years ago moved to a situation where every junior takes the ACT, and students only take the SAT if they want to take it on their own. And we have a number of students who still take the SAT. But our ACT percentage ranking of 70.9 tells us that of last year's juniors, this year's seniors, 70.9% of them have an ACT score that would get them into a North Carolina university school. That's every community college and some of the four-year schools in the university system. And we're ranked 14th there. We didn't put it in this data because it's not used for state ranking purposes, but our SAT rank on critical reading and math was also 14th. Carol Douglas wanted me to share that with you, Dr. Douglas. And then last, but certainly not least, the letter grade comparison. North Carolina implemented a very rigorous letter grading system for schools. That's our only complaint, is that it's rigorous. We think it's very fair, though, because the rigorous standard applies to every school. So if you're all measured by the same tape measure or by the same scale, it's fair, because the same measure is applied to everything. The top grid is similar to one that we produced last year and shared with you, but if you'll look at that for 14-15, among all of the charter schools and public schools in North Carolina, just a little over 2% of those received an A. Among charter schools, that was 7.5% A's, and among our schools, Haywood County schools, that was 13.3% A's. A very similar pattern for B's. Across all schools in the state, a little over 19% B's. For charter schools, 44, almost 45% B's. And for Haywood County schools, 53.3% B's. And then C's, 43% for all schools across the state. And you can see that that's a bell-shaped curve when you look at the whole state. We have a warped curve in Haywood County. We're real pleased with that, that it's just big on one end. 21% C's for charters and 33% C's for Haywood County schools. D's, 29% of all schools in the state had a D. 18.7% of the charters had a D. We had no D's. And F schools, 6% of all schools, 6.1% of all schools in the state received an F. 7.5% of the charter schools in the state received an F grade, and we had no F's. So we're real pleased that, we're one of 10 districts who had only A, B, and C schools. Last year there were 8, and a couple other districts did better and creeped into that pretty elite group, but we're pleased to be one of those 10. And then what we did, we only have 2 years of letter grades for schools, but we wanted to show you the previous year, 13-14, and then last year, 14-15, all of our schools maintained or improved. We had several schools, I think 3 or 4 schools, that moved up a letter grade and no one who moved down. So we're just real pleased with that. So that's about as much as I can give you in a short period of time, but that's the general picture. I can assure you that we will continue to work very, very hard. Dr. Garrett, myself, the C&I staff, principals, teachers, students. We have one principal who's actually posted all their scores on a window in their school so the students can go by and be challenged by it. And I think that will work. It's a high school, so they'll understand what's going on there. So we're pleased to share that with you. Just know that we have every intention of improving that performance as we move forward. And I'll try to answer any questions.
Any questions for Dr. Nolte about the scores? just a comment, congratulations, excellent job to all. I know it's a team effort.
There
Big
are a
team.
lot of people who contribute, I can assure you.
Huge
Grandmamas sometimes reading at night to their children.
Absolutely.
There is a lot of contribution going on.
Thank you very much, Dr.
Thank you.
Nolte. Ms. King, has anyone signed up to address the board other than the hearing that we had? Nope, okay. All right, board members, you've had an opportunity to look at the minutes from the both open and closed session meetings from the August 10th, 2015 meeting. At this time, we entertain a motion that they be approved as presented.
Motion.
We have a motion from Mr. Henson. Do I hear a second?
I'll second it.
Second from Ms. Shandable. Any question or discussion on the motion on the floor? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Now on our agenda, I'd like to introduce Dr. Ann Garrett.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, for your approval, the agreement between the Haywood County Schools and the Haywood County Health and Human Services. Mr. Smathers has previewed this and okayed it. This involves our nursing agreement with the health department. We have 6 nurses and 2 part-time, which would be a total of 7 nurses, and we have 2 of those who are out on leave right now, but hopefully they will be hired very soon. Any questions about that?
Any questions? This is what we've done in the past.
Yes, and it's the same amount for the last 7 or 8 years. It's not increased.
Okay, that's good. I'll entertain a motion at this time for approval.
I'll make the motion.
Mr. Francis has made the motion. I hear a second. Mr. Bobby Rogers has seconded the motion. Any question or discussion on the motion on the floor? There being none, we'll vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Ann. Now, Dr. Nolte's back up again.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Dr. Garrett, staff, it must be my night. You know, I'll go sometimes months without presenting, and I have several things tonight. Item 12 is a presentation that Jenny Wood usually does as the person who manages our calendar. We are required to submit with board approval a request to start school before August 25th if we have enough snow days to make that request. And if you grant that request, which is attached and you can see, we would be allowed to start next year on the 22nd. You may start with the waiver on the Monday closest to August 19th, and next year that will be the 22nd. That's all the wiggle room the state affords, but we would like to ask for that wiggle room and your approval.
It's very important the way our calendar's built to get that in with the school, with the closings that we have. Anyone have a motion to that effect? Ms. Milner has made the motion to approve the calendar waiver as presented. Do I hear a second? Second by Ms. Shandable. Any questions or discussion on the motion? There being none, we'll vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you, Dr. Nolte.
Item 13 has just a couple items for information. The first one I will not read through in the interest of time, but as you know, we put on a state conference quality professional development day for our teachers every year. When we moved to district level accreditation, I think it was 13 years ago now, that visitation team, the chairperson of that visitation team, walked me down a hallway and he said, he wasn't really pointing at classrooms, but he gave this example. He said, when you walk through a school, you'll see that's good, that's great, that's good, that's great, oh my goodness. He said, when you see the oh my goodness, that may not be very good, you want to make sure that the problem is not because of a lack of proper information or training for the teachers. And so we took him to heart, and for almost a decade now, for the last 7 or 8 years, we've done a really good job of putting together a very high quality training day for teachers. This year it's on October the 5th, and we have local presenters. We have a lot of experts right in the school system who do presentations. We have some regional presenters, and we also have some national presenters. But I won't read through that with you, but I would encourage you to open it. You're welcome to look at that. We're right in the middle of online registration now for teachers. It opened on the 8th, and it will close on the 18th. But there's everything there from ACT to initial assessment of a critical injury of a student and everything else in between. But we just want to share that with you.
Okay.
Are there any questions about that staff development?
Any questions?
So when people say, what are they doing on that day, you can print it and hand it to them.
Here it is.
The other thing I know you're real aware of, we released the press release and I think sent you a copy of our changes in graduate recognitions, and we really haven't had any community feedback to speak of. We've had good media coverage from our local media outlets and then a couple regional outlets, and we feel very good about that. Our goal there is we have, as you know, millions of dollars. Dr. Garrett did a presentation at the last board meeting or the one before that about the millions of dollars of scholarship eligibility that our graduates have, and we just felt like it was appropriate to change our recognitions and make sure we're recognizing a lot of high-performing graduates. And so just a reminder that we sent that out.
Any questions of Dr. Nolte on the graduation update?
Thank you very much.
All right, thank you, Dr. Nolte. Next, we have a table full of policies to be tabled, so that was a good segue into that one.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman and members of the board. First of all, you have the 8000 series, which deal with the finance aspects of the school system, and we have those up for first reading for tonight.
Any questions or comments from any of the board members on any of the policies that are being presented for the first reading? There not being any, we will table the 8000 series plus the 9125 until the next regular board meeting, October 10th.
And next we have the 9000 series, which deal with facilities, for approval for tonight.
Okay, we have the second reading of the 6441. Well, it's the 9000 series, correct?
Right.
That'd be the easy way to do that.
That's exactly right.
Is there a motion to approve the 9000 series?
So moved.
Ms. Shandel's made a motion to approve the 9000 series for the second reading as presented. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Second, Mr. Francis. Any questions or discussion on the motion? There being none, we'll vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
I just
Thank
wanted
you,
to say we're very fortunate to have the people in the central office we have to work with. We had Mr. Hargrove, with facilities, and Ms. Gardner and Dr. Garrett with finance, and they really do a good job of looking these things over and getting us in good shape to come to you guys with the policies.
Thank you very much. We've gone a long way in our policy manual this year.
We're getting there.
We're getting. Thank you, Mr. Shepherd, and thank you and the policy committee and our board members that do participate on that policy committee. We appreciate their hard work. Now, I was not supposed to forget, Mr. Leatherwood has an item to bring to us, or a couple items from the Building and Grounds Committee meeting earlier this evening.
Mr. Chairman, the Building and Grounds met with a couple of representatives from the town of Waynesville, and we recommend that we go in a partnership with the town of Waynesville. They're wanting to move the Brown Avenue that runs up in front of Waynesville Middle School. They're going to be using state and federal money in the neighborhood of $440,000, and it'll what they'll actually do is move Brown Avenue over next to the railroad track. It'd be a matter of swapping some land later on, but it'll be a matching fund that'll be split between the town and the school system of $110,000. In other words, it'll cost us around $55,000. And Tracy says that this money can come, he can't use lottery money, but he says that he'll have it whenever this project comes into effect. Once the town of Waynesville gets it approved, they gotta go to their board, and if we vote to go in partnership with them, they're wanting to hire a engineer to start the design of the project. And really be safe for the kids, because they won't have to be
Across
going
the
over
road.
Brown Avenue to get the buses and so forth. Our question was to them was, how are we gonna get kids down to what we call Death Valley up there, where the
Across the road.
softball field and so forth is. But that's what the engineer will hopefully come up with a good solution to this problem. So we make this in the form of a motion that we go into partnership with town of Waynesville on this project.
Okay. We have a motion from Mr. Leatherwood to go into partnership for the town of Waynesville, and our part would be somewhere around $55,000. And it will move Brown Avenue over next to the railroad tracks, is the way I understand that. Do I hear a second to the motion?
I'll second.
Second with Mr. Francis. Any questions or discussion on the motion?
I do have a question. What time frame are they looking at? Did they tell you anything about time frame, or are they just
Probably
in the preliminaries right now?
Couple of years,
Okay.
getting all this approved and getting all the design of it. Anytime you start dealing with the state and everybody else, you run into a lot of problems.
Okay.
And now they need to get their first approval from the state, because I mean, that's still a state road.
Well,
even though
what they've got to do, they got to go to the town of Waynesville and see if they want to go with this project. And then they'll have to, they've already got the approval from the state to proceed with the moving of this road.
And when you say they're moving the road, how Brown Avenue down the railroad tracks, is it gonna go up to the parking lot? And then I guess it'd be coming back in, I guess.
Well, the benefit the town, it'll open the flow of the traffic.
Right.
And to benefit the school system, it'll not have the kids crossing over Brown Avenue. I mean, it's a benefit to both of them.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that'll give you so much, you know.
And once the engineer gets a project grown up, and then they'll come back, they'll be communicating with Tracy on this project.
Okay. Well, just keep us posted, Mr. Leatherwood. That sounds like a real good project and everything.
Well, the best I remember, this came up about 8 years ago, so.
I remember
Thanks, it'll happen this time.
Yeah, it was closing one of the crossings of the railroad track, best I recall, as part of that whole. Anyway, any other questions or comments on the motion? Okay, there being none, we'll vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
I have one other thing, Mr. Chairman. We have 3 maintenance vehicles that we want to declare surplus.
Okay.
And Bill and Grounds make this form of a motion that we got a boom truck, a pickup, and a van that's really, they're just setting up on the way. So
Okay.
We'd like to make all 3 of these surplus.
Okay. We have a motion from the Building and Grounds from Mr. Leatherwood to declare 3 obsolete vehicles as surplus. Do I hear a second to the motion?
Second.
Second with Ms. Milner. Any questions or discussion on the motion on the floor?
How do we proceed with getting rid of it?
What's that?
How do we get rid of it?
Well,
Bid them off, or
That's
take
what,
them to the junkyard, or?
no, they'll be bid off through surplus like they do anything else that they're getting rid of.
But the first step is what we're doing right now in a minute. You got to declare it surplus before you can get rid of it.
Now, does that go, does it go on the internet somehow, or do we just?
I think Tracy does have a
Yeah.
website that equals, yeah, goes to
Yeah, that's
surplus
what I
school.
was-
Thank you, Mr. Trent. No, that's good information. I appreciate it. Do. Any other questions, comments? There being none, we'll vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Leatherwood, and the good work that the Building and Grounds Committee does. We appreciate their hard work, and tell Mr. Trace we appreciate his hard work on that committee. Now we have on our agenda, we have our Finance Chair, Mr. Jim Francis. Do you have a report from the Finance Committee?
Yes, sir. The Finance Committee has met and reviewed the monthly financial reports. Everything seemed to be in order, so at this point in time, I'd like to bring before the full board approval of the monthly financial reports.
Okay, we have a motion from the Finance Committee, or Mr. Francis. Do I hear a second to the motion? So, Mr. Rogers, any questions or comments on the motion on the floor? There being none, we'll vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. For the record, that was Mr. Bobby Rogers. I know Jimmy's not here, but for the verbal part of it. All right, anything else on finance?
I'd just like to thank Ms. Milner for filling in for me last month since I was not here. So.
You're so welcome.
Very good. All right.
All I have at this point.
All right. Thank you to the Finance Committee for their hard work and getting everything put together and working on some other things. Now we have Dr. Ann Garrett with our personnel for the month.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, for your information, you have 23 separation from employments. You have 8 employee status changes and 7 leave of absences. For your approval, we have 1 separation of employment, 18 employments, 29 employee status changes, 1 leave of absence. I'm going to stop because I'll take that.
Stop right
on
there,
separate,
okay.
yes.
At this time, I entertain a motion to approve as presented.
I move we approve as presented.
Ms. Miller's made a motion. Do I hear a second? Mr. Leatherwood. Any questions or discussion on the motion on the floor? There being none, we'll vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, under number 8, contracted services, I want approval for 19, but I'm going to pull number 15, and I'll take 15 separate.
Okay. I entertain a motion, we approve 20 of the 21 presented, with the exception of 15.
I'll make the motion.
Okay, we have a motion from Mr. Francis.
I'll second it.
Ms. Shandoval. Any questions or discussion on the motion on the floor? There being none, we'll vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, I'd like approval for number 15 under contracted services.
Okay, under number 15, Ms. Shandoval is asked to recuse herself due to being a family member. We grant that wish.
Thank you.
Anyway, no, just for public record, it is a family member, Ms. Shandoval. She's asked to not to be voting on that particular person. So this time, I need a motion to approve number 15.
I move we approve it.
Okay, Ms. Milner made the motion, second Mr. Henson, to approve number 15. All those, are there any questions or discussion on the motion on the floor? There being none, we'll vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously with 1 person abstaining from voting.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, for your approval, you have 13 substitutes, 3 employee coaches, 4 non-employee coaches, 20 volunteer services.
Shall we entertain a motion they be approved as presented?
I'll make the motion.
Mr. Jim Francis made a motion. I hear a second. Second, Mr. Rogers. Bobby Rogers. Any questions or comments or discussion on the motion on the floor? There being none, we'll vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Garrett. Anything else needs to come before the board?